Today, we're going to be talking about the Restrict Act and what's been mistakenly referred to as the ban on TikTok or the TikTok bill, the anti-TikTok bill, because China's going to get us, Mark. Did you hear that? Did you hear that China's coming for us?
That's been a narrative that's been played for the last few years now.
Well, I've been brushing up on my Mandarin, man, and I'm getting pretty good at it because every time I open TikTok, there's somebody telling me that it's going to get banned. And it's kind of upsetting to me because I only just started using TikTok, and
I saw you started following me. Thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
I started following you, man. You got some good stuff on there. I recommend everybody follows you while they still can.
Right.
So you've been following this Restrict Act thing, right, Mark?
Yeah. So I've been following it. Obviously, you've done a deep dive into it. So why don't you explain to those who are listening that think they know what it is, but may not know? So go into further detail about what the Restrict Act is.
So the Restrict Act is a bill that is currently proposed before this Congress that basically says let me back up.
Well, it's a bipartisan bill. Let's
it's a bipartisan bill, and that when those two parties agree on something, you're getting fucked. So basically, what all the media has been saying is the TikTok ban is coming. There's a TikTok ban bill. It's going to ban TikTok because the Chinese have our data and they're going to be spying on us and they're going to be taking our stuff and teaching us Mandarin and bringing communism to America. We got to stop it. We got to stop
it. Which both presidents, Trump and Biden, have said there is proof of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love it. That reminds me a whole hell of a lot of the time Bush told me that there was proof of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. It feels like kind of like a reboot. Feels like a soft reboot into war of some kind, some sort of. This time it'll be cyber war.
And then it's funny you bring that up because of that came the Patriot Act. And some people are actually calling this the Patriot Act 2.0. I digress.
It is. No. The bill basically gives the president of the United States, whomever he may be, the authority to appoint a Secretary of Communications. Now, what does the Secretary of Communications get to do? Well, the Secretary of Communications, so says the Restrict Act before Congress now, he or she gets to decide whether or not a company is allowed to be, or a company or a website is allowed to be on the internet for Americans. Now, I think that sounds a little bit like censorship, but this is where it gets creepy. It gets creepy because it also gives the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of the new Secretary of Communications the ability to deem any country an evil foreign person or an evil foreign bad actor who's a threat to our national security because now they have our email addresses or something. And what it will do is it says that if the secretary notices that as a result of bad national security stuff that this shadow company or shadow country is doing, that it now grants them the authority to use our devices to spy on us, to figure out what we're doing. Anything that is connected to Wi-Fi is an open season for our fellow G-men and the goons in the military-industrial complex. Now, the problem here is obvious. I don't want to be spied on. Do you like being spied on, Mark?
No, it's funny because we've gone back a long way, right? Back in college, we've had debates about the Patriot Act, and here we are again, going full circle pretty much today. And I feel like you've asked me this question back then, right?
Back in 2007. Yeah.
Right. And I said, listen, I'm doing nothing wrong. It's for the greater good of our country. If they want to spy on me, they're going to be very bored.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I was a little bit more naive back then. I believed in our government wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. And again, I would say, I do understand possible threats, with different apps, et cetera, et cetera. There's bad actors in the world that would, and I'm not necessarily saying TikTok is that, if there's proof of it, then show us the proof, but we have yet to see the proof. If there is indeed hardcore proof of it that they could show to the public, then absolutely, let's get rid of TikTok.
Show it to the public. What makes me a little skeptical, however, is that it is 100% possible to address those data privacy concerns with actual regulation. Regulation like we've seen the EU put together, which has very now strict data regulation laws. And if you noticed, now, remember, there used to be a time when you'd go to a website and you wouldn't have to click the X button about the cookies. Do you remember that? Do you remember the internet had that?
Yes, yes.
The EU is the reason why that exists. It's not because of America. It's because of all the people in the EU that they have to have this disclosure. As a matter of fact, in the EU, and I want to check up on this, in the EU, if you write to one of these companies have to have like a way for you to say, delete my fucking data now. And they have to do it.
Kind of like, lose my number, don't call back.
Yeah. Our big dog, Mr. fucking Android Zuckerberg, he does not want data regulation. As a matter of fact, Mr. Zuckerberg, through Meta, had spent an incredible amount of money. I think it is $21 million in 2022 alone, lobbying against regulation. So Mark Zuckerberg and Meta want to be the only players in town who collect data. That's it. That's all. This is just a crazy capitalistic way of capturing market share. And it's kind of scary because nobody's going to stop it. Because none of these things that have bipartisan support, that have far-reaching security applications ever get stopped. They don't get stopped, right? But go ahead with what you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, I mean, that's a great point, because it was kind of about what I was about to get into. Because Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk now, they're in this game too about collecting data, and like, as we've been watching the congressional hearings about this with the Restrict Act or the ban on TikTok, and they had the CEO of TikTok on it, and he said, what's different than what we're doing, essentially, than what the American companies are doing. So I agree. I mean, like, if anything, yes, regulate all social media, regulate all the data that's being collected here.
100% agreed. And I think we've talked about this offline, but Facebook is responsible for some really horrific shit. They're responsible for pushing political. I mean, I know there was a debate in 2016 about, well, did the Russian bad actors influence the election using Facebook algorithms? But I'm talking about developing world stuff, about where they would go in and they would allow these horrible regimes to spend incredible amounts of money convincing this small developing societies or citizens into killing each other, fighting for a coup, horrible shit. And then even on our own shores, you have Mark Zuckerberg using his data craziness to actually influence or attempt to influence the emotional feelings of young teen girls.
And that's because of the fact that, like, it's about the longer you stay, the more money they make, essentially, right? And
exactly
what fuels you to stay on and stay engaged in any social media platform is hate and anger. That's the easiest emotion to tap into. As an actor, we talk about this. Like, the easiest emotion to display is hate and anger. It's the low hanging fruit. And that's exactly what social media targets, and that's how they make their money by any means necessary, clearly. And Zuckerberg, they got in trouble for this too. They got called out in the interview 60 Minutes by a former Facebook employee that was made to light. It was stuff that, like, again, kind of like with Harvey Weinstein, it's like stuff we already kind of knew, but now there's like proof of it.
Well, the creepy thing is that all of this data, all of this spying, all of this stuff that it's like we always kind of knew. Right? Like, remember with geez, I'm blanking on the name, but the guy who ran away to Russia, Edward Snowden.
Yes.
Okay. It was not a mystery to we assumed. We used to make jokes even before the Patriot Act and stuff like that. We used to make jokes like, better not say that on the phone, bro. The FBI is watching you. Like, we've always kind of known in this country that there's some horrible spying or manipulation going on by the powers that be, whether they're government or whether they're private. So it's interesting to me that the outcomes are generally the same, right? So Bush lies about 9/11, gets the Patriot Act, kills 1 million Iraqis, and nothing happens to him. Two-term president. Zuckerberg, as we were just talking about, got caught manipulating the emotions to try and trigger depression in teen girls. Changed the name. Now it's Meta. We care. Nothing happened to him.
It was a brand reset.
Completely. And somehow, some way, it worked. And not to go too off the deep end and sound like a tinfoil hat wearing person, but it's verifiable. Zuckerberg, and I should be more clear, Meta is so good at this shit, at what's known as like regulatory capture. That's the word of that's the phrase of the day. They have so many senators, kids, working in high positions at Meta. So Chuck Schumer's daughter is like an executive at Meta, right?
They're not the only company, no. Let's
no, I know, like, I know, yeah, of course.
There are plenty of other companies that do that.
No.
And not to say that's right.
Yeah, no, it's not. Of course, I get that you're agreeing with me, and it is a huge problem that speaks to the whole. It's
a great problem. It's not just a social media problem. It's a big corporation problem.
Man.
That's exactly what it is.
Like we say this all the time, right? We are in this business of social media management and social media branding and content creation because the average business owner can't compete with the scale of these gigantic companies that at the flip of a switch, they can just knock out your market share. Right. I mean, it is a bigger societal problem or American problem or probably even a global problem.
Global for sure.
Yeah. But I would say, to you, I would ask you, what has your experience been with TikTok? Are you a frequent user of TikTok? Are you?
So it's funny you say that. Like, okay, so TikTok, I think, is the most fun app out there right now.
Agreed.
I love TikTok. If you were to follow me on TikTok, you see like my videos are, it's not consistent, and it's so against what I preach, because I preach consistency, and it's because of the fact of, like, for what, 2 years now, essentially, there's this talk about it being banned. So I'm like, all right, why am I going to invest so much time? Because it does take time to build a following. It does take time to create content. Why am I going to put so much time into this if it's going to be banned any second? For me, it just made no sense. At least at the stage of the game that I entered in TikTok. I would say if you're an established brand already on TikTok, keep on going till the wheels fall off. But if you're just starting right now, like, I would be hesitant, because like right now, you have other platforms that are doing well, and if you are established, that is on these other platforms. I should paraphrase that. But that's the problem. Like, I love TikTok. It's just, I don't know when it's going to get banned, if that's going to happen. It seems like most likely it will.
Oh,
here in the United States.
Yeah. I'm going to miss it. And I only have had it for like 3 weeks and actually been enjoying it. And I really, what I like about TikTok, and what I'm seeing repeated a lot on TikTok, off TikTok, is that people feel like they're actually connecting with real information. You have a person's face, and I've seen shit on TikTok, right? Like, I've seen people go on crazy, wild conspiracy theories. Really
for sure.
Ones, but that's part of its charm, right? I think there's a difference between I'm scrolling, Facebook, and my aunt's doing well. Oh, that dinner looks delicious. What the hell? COVID was created by the Chinese. What? Oh, right. And there's like a different experience.
But I feel like
text and photos than there is with video.
I feel like with TikTok, now every platform pretty much has essentially a For You page. You should call it something different. But I feel like TikTok's For You page is more on point than the other platforms. By that, I mean, like, going based on what you're saying, when you're scrolling through TikTok, I feel like 9 times out of 10, it's content that you're actually going to like and enjoy.
Yeah.
Most of the time, once in a while, you're gonna get like, what the fuck is this? And scroll.
when I'll be honest. When I first did TikTok, though, it got my algorithm so wrong. Oh man, it got it so wrong. It was my algorithm. Every other thing on my For You page was like, do you love your family? Do you want to leave them all? It was fucking weird. And my wife had to go. I was like, babe, what the fuck? Why does TikTok think I want to leave everybody and shit? And she was like, I don't know why that's happening. Like maybe it's picking up like shit that we're saying. I don't know. And I'm like, how do I not do this? And she went through and was like, you have to say not interested, not interested. And now it's filled with a bunch of leftist rhetoric and some really cool DIY shit. And that is really where I would like to be, right? I would like to be in my little bubble of exciting stuff and comedy. There's a lot of funny
Hey,
creators on there.
you want your echo chamber. You know,
I want my fucking echo chamber, Mark.
Yeah, and like Elon Musk is so against the echo chamber, but like that's really what we want. Do we really want to hear the other side and get aggravated all the time? No.
I think since the time of the ancient Greeks, we've just been in search of the perfect echo chamber. Like that just seems like what we want.
TikTok seems like it's it, but it's going to be taken away from us.
What do you think? No, yeah, go ahead.
But I feel like, to answer some of your questions here that you have about this, about like going back to the bill and TikTok, et cetera, I do stand by my position. Like, if there is legit proof of this, and I'm using TikTok as an example, like, yeah, I believe we live in a day right now where other nations and like foreign nations, where they're deemed as threats or enemies of the state, where they are more aware of like the battleground is no longer in the trenches, it's cyber.
Yeah.
And I feel like the United States, and we see this with the hearings, like they don't know anything about TikTok,
no, man,
there's Wi-Fi or cybersecurity.
Like, you can't have like a 100,000-year-old vampire senator being like, so how does TikTok get on the phone?
Well, like
is it through wires?
There was one dude who wasn't even that old. I would say he was like in his 40s, maybe early 50s. Like, oh, is this on my Wi-Fi? Like, how does this affect other apps? And I was like, what?
You gotta hand it to the CEO though, because he just was like so super professional. He was just like, no, it doesn't function yet. But yes, it is on Wi-Fi. However, we are committed to that. Guy was a champ.
It's like just like every other app that you open on your phone.
Yeah. That's what he said. It was just like everything else in your house and everything you own, which actually brings up the other thing. If it's kind of a bullshit distraction to say that this is a TikTok thing when it's an anything thing. It's an anything that connects to Wi-Fi thing. Some lunatic at the executive branch. What if the fucking military industrial complex comes in and is like, yo, man, Iran, right? Yeah, they're talking to Brazil. And Brazil's really close to America, and this really popular company and this really popular service. Anybody who connects to that company, we want to see what they're up to. Nothing can stop them from doing that. Nothing.
But wouldn't you say that?
Really
okay. Nothing. All right. So if it's really getting to that point, if like there's reason to believe, like again, like we're talking about with like here in America closer to home, as far as with like people with mental health that have access to guns, et cetera, they're talking about utilizing social media to kind of like see what's going on here, right? If they're making any threats, like honestly, if there's reasonable doubt, honestly, I don't think I have so much of a problem with it. But it depends. I haven't really fully read the bill, and I know you have. I think it depends on the language of the bill. If there is like an open door to like kind of make this not just about foreign threats, to open the door for like any type of app for any reason whatsoever, I have a huge problem with that. Because like these bills kind of get vague where they have these loopholes where they could just kind of just do what they want depending on who the actor is.
It's broad power, essentially. Like, yes, I'm sure the Secretary of Communications is going to be like, yeah, no, it's we have the intel. They're evil. So if I catch you fucking connecting to that service or company, you're going to go to jail. or I'm going to fine you $250,000 for using a VPN to get around our filters. So
I was
it's
under the impression that fine was for the company, or is it for the person?
no, it's for the
Because
person.
I've
That's for the
heard, like,
person.
I've
Yeah.
heard some people who wrote up the bill saying that.
The way that it's written, and maybe they're going to change it, but the way that it was written in the specific section was to criminalize the use of a VPN in order to circumvent the the ban on the app in America, or the ban on the whatever service in America is punishable with like 10 years in prison, I think it is, and or a $250,000 civil penalty.
Real fast, Tony, for those that don't know, can you break down what VPN is?
A VPN is basically where you like when you log in, when you're online, you have an IP address that links you to a location in wherever you are in the United States, in New York specifically, in a county. But sometimes you want to see an app that's not, or you want to, let's use Netflix. Netflix has different shows for different regions of the world. If I turned on my VPN, I could make it look like I'm watching the show in England, where the show is available on Netflix's servers if it looks like you're in England. So, right. So theoretically, let's say they go and they ban TikTok because the Chinese are going to come and get us, and they're going to eat your babies and fuck your whole shit up. And somebody decides, man, I miss TikTok. I don't think the Chinese are going to eat my babies and take everything I have. I'm going to get a VPN. All right, click. Now I'm in, now I'm in England. And then the fucking feds kick in your door and then take your shit.
Right. That affects so many things. Because I say, like, something as simple as Netflix, something as innocent as that, something if like, if legal gambling is not not in your state yet, but you use a VPN to go into DraftKings, like they can come knocking your door for that too. There are a lot of different things where this affects, where, like, you might not like initially think about how this could affect me. Like, people are using this without even realizing they're using it.
Yeah. I mean, I think on like a couple of even regular Windows computers, they have basic VPNs that you can use. So it's just it makes me say to myself, what reason would they have to do any of this? So some people that are more moderate would go, well, it's a scary world out there, and we've got to protect ourselves against scary emails, whatever. I don't know. But the same people that are making that argument in Congress are not making the regulation argument.
Well, here's the thing.
I
think it's time that we do step up, our cybersecurity game, that we enter the 21st century. I don't have faith in those in charge right now, clearly, for them to handle that.
No, handle that shit.
And this can easily be weaponized, as we're seeing, because of the vague language in the bill. It's like, imagine, like, I hate to use specific names here, but imagine a president with their own self-interests in mind, or better interests for the party. Right? Man. A party over nation. We've seen it before. Imagine that happens here, utilizing this bill, because we've seen before bills get weaponized in the past that had good intentions, but then wound up. And this could easily be another one. This could be a huge difference maker.
If Ron DeSantis were to become president of the United
You're saying it, not me.
If Ron DeSantis were to become president of the United States and appoint, under this bill, he could appoint a secretary of communications that would be a lapdog to ban anything culture war related and to fabricate some sort of national security issue that we don't have a right to know that either. Right. So, like, in the TikTok example, it's like, no, man, there's some national security risks, so we gotta fucking get rid of this shit. And it's like, well, can we see the risk? What's the risk? And they're like, that shit's fucking classified. You take that shit up with Raytheon. And they're like, who the fuck is Raytheon? They're like, oh, they're just the biggest weapons manufacturer in the fucking country. Oh shit. I mean, you take that up with your representatives that you elected. You should write them a letter.
But here's the problem, though, with whoever's president nominating these people to be in these cabinet spots. We've seen before in past, in this last presidency, that they don't have to be knowledgeable in that field
Nah,
to be in charge of this stuff.
nah, man.
So this could be a person that has no clue about communications at all, but like,
Mhm.
you know, they are along the lines of the agenda that wants to be pushed, and they could use this as a weapon.
It's kind of like Rick
It's
Perry.
scary.
Remember Rick Perry? Rick Perry was the Secretary of Energy. And when Rick Perry was running for under Trump, he was Secretary of Energy. When Rick Perry was running for president of the Republican primary of 2012, it was a famous scene in the debates where he was about to list the three departments that he would cut if elected president. And he was named and he was named the secretary of one of the things he forgot that he wanted to cut. Guy doesn't have any fucking idea. So it's possible, like what you say. It's 100% possible.
And so that's why it's scary. Like that's why I'm a little torn about it, more so scared about it. But like on one hand, I'm glad we're taking cybersecurity seriously, but on the other hand, you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what you're doing at all, man. It's dangerous.
Every single electronic device that I own that connects to the Wi-Fi is fucking made by China. I seriously doubt that this is about security.
No, it's not. It most likely isn't. You know, this seems like to be a Trojan horse for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And what that something else is, I don't know. But if you see the people that are on this bill, it's bipartisan. So what is going on here? And what is going on? The fact that we have Tucker Carlson, the AOC, agreeing that this is a bad thing. Like there's a lot to this to digest. We are running out of time. Stony, where can they go? Where can our listeners go?
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to frequently call your representative. You can find your representative if you go to congress.gov. There's a section where you can find who are my representatives. You put in your area code or your zip code, and it'll show you who your representatives are, who your representative is, and you want to give them a call. You want to send them an email. And you want to make it known that you don't want to be spied on just because some random lunatic decided that a country is against our national security and not have any accountability to anybody, that you don't want to be jailed. You know, like really, you want to lay it on thick, make yourself seem like somebody who's really not going to vote for you ever again. And then secondly, what I learned through a little bit of political like online activism is that what you want to tell the person who you're calling, your representative, you say, if you support this bill, I am going to donate to your opponent in the next election.
Big deal. That's a big deal.
Okay. So you want to really normalize saying that I will donate to your opponent in the next. Don't say I won't vote for you. They don't give a shit if you vote for them or not. They can buy votes, right?
The money though, the money
is what hit them in their fucking pocketbook. That's what you want to do.